Here's a great example of like shadows really showing what an object would feel like. If you look here where we're kind of straight on with our lighting, you don't really see the spikes as well. I mean, you can kind of see the shadows, but it all just kind of blends. It's not until you get to the side where you really see the shadows and the highlights that show that these spikes aren't just little bumps, they're huge spikes and they're really big and pointy. And if you tried to hug this tree, you hippies, this would hurt. So that's kind of the idea, not so much on this area, but this area, I realize I can touch this and it won't go nuts on me. I love this. This area of the photo really shows good texture because it really shows the 3 dimensions of these lovely spikes on this tree that I hear live in this area. That's scary. I've never seen a tree like that, but I hear some farms have them. This is for those of you who have pet alligators at home. You can go out and take a picture of your pet alligator. Depending on what parts you get of him, there is shape here, there is pattern. You can get some texture because he does have lots of texture on him. So that's for those of you herpetiles out there. Herpetiles, there's no such thing as a herpetile. Herpetologists. You can take pictures of your herps. Here we have color. Now you realize that this is color that's against something that's equally as colorful. It's kind of blue, but we've kind of filled the frame with bright color. So if you happen to have these shoes in your closet, you can take a picture of these, and that will work. That's just stucco wall. If you happen to have stucco, brick, or this, I forget what the sand paint is called, but everybody has it in their house. Really pay attention and kind of do like Scott Kelby said in the video, work in the scene. Really kind of don't just come at it straight on. Sometimes coming at your texture from a different angle using your point of view skills a little bit can really help throw the shadows the way you need and can go from being very flat to very three-dimensional just by moving your camera at a different angle. Sometimes it helps if you just have like a little flashlight, or even a lot of people will use the flashlight on their cell phone and get your camera set up and get good, and then just use your cell phone to kind of throw some light, and even just kind of move your cell phone just a little bit around and notice how it really changes how your shadows fall, and it can make them really nice and dark and crisp, and then sometimes they get a little softer, and it kind of really changes the three-dimensional look of your texture. So be mindful, utilize your cell phone, utilize flashlights, utilize your point of view skills so that you can create really nice, bright, stark textures, because that's what we want to see. Here we have pattern, we have shape, we have color, so things like this all work. A lot of this stuff, I know you guys are going to be indoors in your homes because it's going to be stupid degrees outside this weekend. So I completely and utterly expect that I'm not going to see a lot of outside stuff. You want to be mindful, even if you want to be a hot shot and say, oh, I'm going to go outside anyway. Do be mindful that cameras do not necessarily like this weather all that much. So if you do go outside to grab like some tree bark or something, make it really fast. Don't stay outside for very long. Because you go from super cold to I keep spitting. You go from super cold to inside your house where it's warm. There is the possibility of getting condensation that will build up on your lenses. And be mindful that lenses aren't just one little piece of glass or two pieces of glass. It's a series of panes of lenses inside, so you have lots of spots. And not everybody's lenses are airtight, depending on how long you've had your camera. Your lens may not be super airtight. Even if you have a point and shoot DSLR, it doesn't matter, a bridge. If you get condensation, sometimes it'll go away and sometimes it doesn't. When it dissipates, sometimes it doesn't evaporate, it just turns into water, and now you got water inside your lens and you can ruin your lenses. So just be mindful of that with the extreme cold and then coming in on the warmth. You might, if you can find a way to kind of go from outside to into a garage, it's a little bit warmer, let your camera sit for a minute, then maybe go into a mud room where it's maybe a little bit warmer but not totally warm, and just gradually warm your camera gear up a little bit. I had a student in the day class whose lens, she thinks the weather kind of ruined her lens. She thinks that may have happened to her lens. She's not totally sure. It just stopped working. It wouldn't autofocus anymore. She threw it into a bowl of rice and did the best she could to try to pull the condensation out, because we think that might be what it is. And it still doesn't work right. Her autofocus isn't working. So just be mindful with this weather. Awful to your electronics, especially your lenses. If you do happen to see a fogging up and you wipe it off and you still see the fogging up, so obviously it's maybe inside your lens, like I said, grab a bowl and some instant rice. Just submerge your lens in the instant rice, and the rice will help pull moisture out of your electronics, so that they don't get ruined. Or like I said, the silica packs work really nicely too. So real fast, here we have something. This is shape. This is a nice triangle. It's kind of an implied shape, so this kind of stuff works. So if you happen to have shawls laying around, or different scarves and things like that, you can totally make shapes out of them. And we also kind of have pattern. If we were to kind of zoom in on a smaller part here, we can have pattern, because this has patterns of the crocheting and the knitting. This is also because we have like a nice muted colors here. We have the blue looks more vibrant because it's against this nice cream color, which is kind of a muted color, so this could be a color picture too. Here we have a lovely, this could be color possibly, obviously it's shape. I love this one because this is interesting shape. And we do have some color too. We have the red and the green that's against these other kind of mundane, muted browns and whites and dark colors that kind of make this look more colorful than it really is. This is definitely color but not shape. Even though it's a shaped painting, this is not. If we were to completely black this out and I were to ask you, what geometric shape is this? You'd be like, I don't know, it's a splenge. This is wonderful for color but not for shape, so just be aware of what you're choosing. But if you happen to have any kind of painting, some of you guys that maybe are oil painters in class, if you have any kind of oil paintings, they're great for, well, paintings period are great for color, but especially oil paints are wonderful for texture, because if you paint with oils, you know oil paints are very thick. And a lot of times you don't necessarily brush them on, you kind of take a knife and apply them. So you can get really cool texture depending on which way the light is hitting your project. So if you're an oil painter, then you've got a plethora of textures to play with. This one can be pattern. This can also be, we have shape here, and it can also be texture. It's just really pushing the limits of texture on that one. This one's kind of pattern, not so much texture, but I would accept this more for pattern. Now this one has a lot of stuff. We have texture here on the edges. It's wonderful texture. So if you were able to kind of zoom in and get the edge of concrete, it has great texture. This is pattern, and if you kind of came at it from a different angle, it would also be shape. Not so much color, but if you had something that was colorful and you stuck like a solo cup there, then you would have color. And that's all for that. So there's my lecture. That's this week's assignment. I would really like for everybody to try to stay on task, even though you're getting this assignment somewhat late. I don't know that this is truly a super hard assignment. These things are all over your house, so it shouldn't take you very long to get these. Like I said, be mindful of your exposure. Please be mindful of your focus, because that can make or break a photo. Try to get these in as close on time as you can. I also have 2 extra credit assignments that I've put up. Now when I give extra credit, from the moment I give extra credit until the end of the semester, you can do that extra credit anytime this semester. The first one that I put up was the fire photo, so if by some chance you happen to have either a bonfire going, a fire pit, or if you have like a fireplace or something, or just set something, don't set your house on fire, that wouldn't be good. But if you happen to do, wintertime grilling, whatever it is, if you have something that has fire, take a good picture of fire. The challenge with that is the fire is really bright, and it will kind of fool your camera. It's not as bright as it looks to the camera, so sometimes your camera really wants to overexpose the fire, and we don't want that to happen. So I want to be able to see the reds and the yellows and the oranges, and I'm going to check the time on my camera while I'm talking. Okay, we're still recording. Wonderful. I want to be able to see the flames. I want to be able to see the reds, the yellows, the oranges. If you happen to have a fire that's got blue in it or whatever, I don't want to see blown out white. I want to see nice fire. I want it to look as realistic as possible, and it is possible to do. And it's possible to do with all different types of cameras. So if you get that done, put that in your homework folder with your homework. You can get a maximum of 5 extra credit points for that particular photo. If you don't like your photo and you don't get your 5 points for whatever reason, you can keep trying until you get your 5 points. So next week, try again, put it in the homework folder, and I'll regrade. And the other one is also water extra credit, where you just get like a bowl or a cup of water and just get a drop, and I want you to time it. This takes patience and timing. I want to see a drop of water splashing up. If you can get that and it's nice and crisp and clear, and you time it just right to get kind of that splash, or some splashes, put that in your homework folder and I'll give you extra credit for that, okay? So there's 2 new extra credit assignments. Periodically throughout the semester I will give extra credit assignments. I have dust and crud in my face and it's making me think bugs are attacking me, and I know that it's not. So, if anybody has any questions, you can email me, you can text me, and I will try to help out. And again, in the event that somehow we have snow days next week, I will just record a new lecture, because I really don't want us to get out of sync with the schedule, because it is kind of a tight schedule in a way. So just be mindful, pay attention to Blackboard, because that's where I announce everything. So in the event that something happens, then check the YouTube site, check Blackboard, and I will have anything you need to know. So until next week, I'll see you guys later.